talking ball. Let's bring in Europe's coach, Jeff Reinebold from Europe. How do you like that, Coach? I like the ring of that. What do you think?
Oh, I like it. I like it too, Rod. Hey, how come we're not on TV today?
Stop. Don't. Ask them. Ask the network. That's what I'd like to know. We get all the complaints. I'm like, call them. I know you're teed up. You're a funny guy, Jeff.
I just had to do that. I'm sorry.
Hey, you're good. Listen, I got to say this. People got to see your personality. You're over there in England. Are you on a Christmas lights tour, or are you there for football? All I see from your social media is all these Christmas lights photos from all over.
No, we're doing football. I'll tell you what. And man, oh man, did we have some good games yet? This thing's starting to clear itself up. It's not as muddy as it was 2 weeks ago. But I'm gonna say this, Rod. The battles, I think, are really more for the wild card spots than they are for the division titles, because I think the divisions are starting to separate.
Yeah, but I'm sitting here, Cowboys guy, 9-3, going, well, I know why we're in a wild card spot, because the Eagles are in the division, but do you have any generalities or predictions? Like, this is pretty wild. You can't really make a prediction how this is going to end the next few weeks.
No, I don't think the Cowboys are out of it. And as long as Dak keeps playing the way he's playing, and I said all the way back at, after the first quarter of the season, when you could see that Pollard was going to be, that guy, and that they had depth at running back, and, the receiving core. CeeDee Lamb has been really, really good, but that defense is maybe as good as there is in the league. So I thought the Cowboys will go as far as Dak takes them. And I've been pumping my brakes on the Cowboys for 20 years, because it just seems like if you're a Cowboy fan, you get all the hype and all of it, and then all of a sudden you get all the letdown. But they really have played well. They played well down the stretch. And, there are very few weaknesses on that football team. And there's no team in the league right now, in my opinion, that's the perfect team. So I think the Cowboys have a tremendous opportunity in front of them.
Well, how about this? I saw a pundit say, and I can't disagree, the weakness on the Cowboys is Mike McCarthy. How do you answer that?
You know what? Everybody, here's how I would answer it, right? When you look, Kellen Moore was the golden child, right? And Kellen Moore, did a great job when he was a coordinator there, and there was talk about him being a head coach and all of it, right? And when he left and Mike took over the offense, what has happened with the quarterback? All of a sudden now, a guy that threw a ton of interceptions last year is protecting the ball. He's making all the throws, better decisions. There's more balance in the offense. I think all of those things. And I think the fact that Mike McCarthy's got Dan Quinn with that defense. Dan Quinn's a head coach in the National Football League without the title, because you see the way that defense plays, the way that they react to him. I really think that the Cowboys, those are the reasons why, for the first time in a long, long time, I'm kind of bullish on the Cowboys, because we saw last night with Philadelphia that they're not a perfect football team, and they struggle at times throwing the football. You can run the ball on the edges on them. And, so again, the Cowboys, if they can continue to play the way they're playing, they have every bit of a right to think that they can win that division yet. I really truly believe that.
Well, wouldn't that be something? I hope that you're right. And, with the Eagles, they survived the scare against the Bills, but the 49ers, I would be saying expose them. Is that too harsh of a term?
No, I don't. I think in some ways, yes. In other ways, no. The Eagles had gotten on that streak where I think it was 4 in a row. They've been behind at halftime and came back and won. And there's positives and negatives in that. That's not a habit you want to get in, but it does show your resiliency. It does show the kind of quarterback that you have. But again, I really truly believe that when it's all said and done, that this thing is going to really, really sort itself out. And I think that, when you look at the NFC North, for example, Detroit's, not in control. I've seen too much of the old Jared Goff this season, as opposed to the one that, early in the year was so hot. A couple weeks ago, he was really bad. And again, had that look on his face that he had when he was in St. Louis and Los Angeles with the Rams, like the game was too big for him. Although he did a great job, he bounced back last night against New Orleans. So Atlanta is the best of a bad division in the South. And I think if you look at the most complete team in the NFC, you got to say it's San Francisco, because when they're healthy, they got the best tight end in football. They got the best fullback in football. They got two great receivers in Ayuk and Debo, the best left tackle in football. And Brock Purdy, you can say whatever you want about him and where he's drafted and all those easy stories, all that low-hanging fruit when you're a media guy and that's all you want to talk about. How about talking about the guy that's leading the league in about 8 different quarterback categories? And, who cares where he was drafted? How is that relevant? That was 2 years ago, right? And it's,
hey,
I say this to our
friend,
players in the CFL, Rod. Yep.
No, go ahead. You say it to your players. What do you say?
I say to our players in the CFL, I said, the easiest thing to get in pro football is a label. The hardest thing to lose is that label. And somehow he's labeled as a system quarterback. Look at the game. Watch the tape. See the throw, right? The things that Shanahan has him do and the amount of information he's got to process and the throws with his, is where he comes away from the center with his back to the, to the secondary. So he's got to make his read as he comes off of a play action fake. That's not easy. And only somebody who doesn't really know the game would say, oh, those are all easy throws. I mean, come on, man. It's not even close. Yes, he throws the ball inside better than throwing the ball on the perimeter. But that's about 3/4 of the quarterbacks in the National Football League.
Yeah, I'll tell you something about those labels, though. The good thing about them is they're what gets you out of bed in the morning to dispel the haters and that kind of thing. So I flipped it, and I look at it as a good thing. But I got to say this. The Dolphins are 9-3 for the first time in over 20 years. And I feel that you're a jewel having the ability to ask you these questions. How do you feel about that criticism the Cowboys get and the Dolphins? Yeah, you can beat teams with a losing record, but you can't beat the good teams. What do you say to that?
Well, the last time I checked, Rod, you have to play the schedule that the league gives you. I mean, so you try and be 1-0 this week. I mean, that's what it's all about. And, you can find the flaws in every single team in the league. I don't care who you're talking about. There, you can create your own narrative if you want. They can't do this. They can't do that. I mean, how long did we have to? Do you think Tua's good enough now? I mean, yeah, I think he's good enough, but I thought he was good enough 2 years ago. It's sometimes we, in this world that we live in, where it's all about clicks and it's all about, shock journalism or, hot takes and all that. It's frustrating because, that kid's been an accurate passer, and he does have some things, physical things that you would like to have better. You'd like him bigger. You'd like him stronger. You'd like him, more physical probably. But I'm going to tell you something. He is accurate with the football. He knows where to go with it. And he is, for a Mike McDaniel, he is exactly what he wants. A decision maker who's accurate with the ball.
Yeah. Well, he has stayed healthy for the first time ever this year, too. And that helps. I got to ask you this. Arlen Bruce wrote in with a question earlier. AB had this regarding the college football playoff. I've allotted some time here for you to get into this. AB goes, when I played college, we just wanted to go to a bowl game. AB goes, we just wanted to go to a bowl game. There's too much emphasis now on the natty, on the national championship. Does he have a point in saying, like, this furor with FSU, I wonder where you stand on that. And of the bowl games, he called it a slap in the face if you're not in the top 4 playing for the crystal ball.
Well, I think, college football's changed so much, Rod, from even the time that AB played. It used to be, when I was a kid growing up, there was one team in the Big Ten that went to a bowl game, and you went to the Rose Bowl, and that's the only bowl game you could go to, and that was the only team that could go was the conference championship, the conference champion. Well, it's so different now with this proliferation of bowl games, and that's good, I think, because it's more football, and Obviously, ESPN needs the programming. They're the ones that run the bowl system. I've been in, I've been in the Belk Bowl and I've been in the Sugar Bowl. And I'm going to say this, that for the players and for the fans and for all of it, the opportunity to play one more time, to be together one more time, to represent your school, to do all of those things. I've never had a bad bowl experience, and I think I've been to 12 of them. So I think that what has happened, though, Rod, is there's now more and more two classes of citizens in college football. There's the top 30 or 40 teams, and then there's everybody else, because there's 131 division or 132 division I programs. Well, it's hard to compare the University of Louisiana Monroe to LSU, but they're both division I programs. Their budgets are completely different. Their aspirations are completely different, all of it. So for the big guys, yeah, I'm sure that's the way it is. If you can't make it to play for the for the glass trophy, then it's a disappointing year. But again, it's never going to be a perfect system, because there's some teams that are not going to play for it this year that certainly have an argument. Florida State has an argument. Georgia has an argument. So Ohio State has an argument, and it's just the way it is. We only have there are only 4 spots the way it's right now. And again, where also I think this is leading us to is you hear about style points now, right? It's like diving in the Olympics. You want to do a tougher dive so you can get more points. Well, you got to drill somebody out. Like you saw Texas, I think was their next to the last game they played Texas Tech, and they beat them 57-7, I think it was. 50 points they beat them. And why did they, wear them out like that? Because they knew that they were going to be in a battle to get one of those 4 spots, and they needed style points. And style points come by lopsided victories.
Listen, I am Canadian. I'm a Canadian football fan. I'm not insulting anybody by saying this. Canadians wouldn't understand it. I've been down here 2 years. It's taken me that long to just get my head around this. Yeah, you won, but you didn't win by enough. I hear it in the media. Dan Patrick's saying that about teams. Like I said, what are you talking? I thought the idea was to win. You just explained why that's not enough.
No, it isn't. And, if you look at it, in my opinion, if you look at it, of the 4 teams that are in the playoffs, Michigan, they beat Ohio State. The Big Ten isn't exactly the best conference in the nation. And, Florida State's in the ACC. I'd put the ACC up there with the Big Ten this year. And they were undefeated. And, then there's the issue with the quarterback. And because the quarterback's not healthy, that's the excuse they can use. But obviously, Florida State has every reason, and Mike Norvell has done a fantastic job, because he took over a mess when he got it, and he's done a fantastic job of building that program back to Bobby Bowden standard.
How should they feel, Jeff? How should the Seminoles feel?
Well, I'm sure they're disappointed. Obviously, they're disappointed because it's it hurts in a lot of ways, right? Your competitive side hurts because you want to compete to be a champion, right? That's what you play the game for. Now, from a monetary standpoint, that's a huge, huge financial windfall for the school. The school. I'm not talking about the football team. I'm talking about the school, because those schools benefit. The entire school benefits from a game like that, an opportunity like that, and then from a recruiting standpoint, because every kid thinks he's going to the NFL, and every kid thinks he's going to go to a BCS school and start his first year. And so, there's a lot of reasons to be disappointed other than just the competitive part.
Yeah, I got you. Well, I'm a little with you. You mentioned Michigan. I'm sitting here going, how come Washington's getting a pass? Everybody's all over Texas and Alabama, why they're in. I'm like, what about these other 2 teams? But it's endless discussion. Endless.
Well, yeah, and it can't. And that's part of the beauty of it, though, in its own kind of strange way, I guess. It's it gives us more to talk about, more to chew on, because you can now say, okay, let's compare the ACC to the Pac-12. Well, who was in the Pac-12? You had a good Oregon State team. You had a good offense at USC. It couldn't play defense. Oregon was a good football team, and the rest were just okay, right? Well, then you go to the ACC, and you got Miami, who underachieved, and Clemson underachieved, and Pitt had a bad year. And so was it a down year in the ACC? So how do you grade that? There's just it's an imperfect science done by imperfect people. So it's going to be imperfect.
Yeah, and guys slitting throats, I'm sure, to get on that 13-man selection committee. You know, to say that they're on it. You know what I mean? Oh, my God.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Rod, there is a unbelievable piece out on YouTube where Mike Lee, you know, they should put his bust at Mount Rushmore, because he was a national treasure, and he talks about what it's like, and the people that are on that committee, people who, you know, their biggest, I guess their reason for being on the committee because they're a rich fan or whatever. You know, it's just like, what are the qualifications to be on that committee? You know, to make that decision. And, you know, you're making a decision when you choose to shut a team out like they did Florida State, like they did Georgia. You're not only, like I said, breaking the hearts of all those players that maybe this is their last chance to win a national championship, but, you know, you're creating a huge problem for the school in terms of, you know, the financial part of it is so important, and how you're going to budget for next year, and, you know, all of it. So, and the conferences, because it all, you know, it kind of all flows downhill. When you go to, like when we went to the BCS game when I was at Hawaii, we went to the Sugar Bowl and played Georgia one year, and it made for the school, Rod, $24 million, right? Now, that's the general fund of the school. That's not the athletic department. And then every school in our conference, you know, Boise State, New Mexico State, Louisiana Tech, every one of those other schools in our conference, they got bowl revenue from that too. So there's a reason for everybody in the ACC to want Florida State in that, right? Because they're going to share in that revenue.
We could go on for days, and a lot are. Coach, thanks. Europe's coach, that's probably just for today. I like it. But keep doing what you do. Enjoying following you over here. Enjoy the games. We'll chat with you next week.
All right, Rod. Take care. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. CFL coaching legend overall, Jeff Reinebold from Sky Sports, repping today.